together, their heads bowed beneath the weight of a nation's grief. Two young princes who laughed side by side during military training, who shared private jokes on royal tours, who stood shoulder to shoulder promising to carry forward the legacy of Princess Diana. Back then, the idea that Prince William and Prince Harry might one day become strangers seemed impossible. But tonight, insiders are saying something far more serious than a simple disagreement has taken place, because according to multiple royal sources, Prince William has done something no one thought he would ever do. He has cut Prince Harry off completely. No private calls. No quiet reconciliation attempts. No more efforts behind palace doors to repair what has been breaking for years. Just silence. And in the world of the royal family, silence can sometimes speak louder than any official statement. The tension between the brothers didn't begin overnight. It didn't explode suddenly the way headlines might make it seem. In reality, the cracks started forming long before the world realized something was wrong. Some royal historians trace the first real shift back to the years when Prince Harry began carving out his own identity away from the shadow of the future king. For most of their childhood, William was destined to wear the crown while Harry lived with the freedom of being the spare. At times that role allowed Harry to be more relaxed, more rebellious, even more relatable to the public. But insiders say the dynamic between the brothers began to change as their lives moved in different directions. William embraced the structure of royal duty with quiet determination. Harry struggled with it. The arrival of Meghan Markle in Harry's life only intensified the spotlight. Their whirlwind romance captivated the world, and for a brief moment it looked like the royal family was entering a modern new chapter. But behind the palace gates, tensions were already brewing. Staff members whispered about disagreements. Advisors worried about conflicting priorities, and the brothers who once shared everything were suddenly seeing the world through completely different lenses. When Harry and Meghan announced they were stepping back from royal duties in 2020, it wasn't just a shocking moment for the monarchy. It was deeply personal for William. Those close to him say he felt blindsided, not just by the decision itself, but by how quickly everything seemed to unfold. Within weeks, the couple had left the United Kingdom and started building a new life thousands of miles away in California. From the outside, it looked like freedom. From inside the palace, it looked like abandonment. And yet, despite the hurt, William reportedly tried to keep the door open. There were still family events, still moments when the brothers stood in the same room again, but every appearance together seemed more strained than the last. Then came the interviews. The documentaries. The book. Each revelation sent shockwaves through the royal family and reignited debates across the world. Some people saw Harry as a man finally speaking his truth. Others believed he had crossed an unspoken royal line. But for William, sources say the issue was never simply about public criticism. It was about trust. Because in the royal family, trust is everything. Private conversations are supposed to remain private. Family disagreements are meant to stay behind palace doors, and once those boundaries are broken, repairing them becomes nearly impossible. Over time, insiders noticed something telling. The communication between the brothers grew colder. Phone calls became rare. Messages went unanswered. And when they did meet during major royal occasions, their interactions were brief, polite, and distant. Royal observers began describing the situation with a word that once would have seemed unthinkable: irreparable. Still, there were moments when hope flickered. The passing of Queen Elizabeth II in 2022 brought the family together during one of the most emotional periods in modern royal history. For a brief moment, The world wondered whether grief might rebuild the bridge between William and Harry. After all, shared loss has a way of reminding people what truly matters. When the brothers walked together outside Windsor Castle to greet mourners, cameras captured a rare image of unity. It wasn't warm, it wasn't easy, but it was something. For royal watchers desperate to see reconciliation, that moment felt like a small crack of light breaking through the clouds. But as months passed, that light faded again. Reports continued to surface about deep disagreements. And as Harry's projects continued to reveal new details about royal life, the gap between him and William seemed to widen even further. Friends close to the Prince of Wales say William rarely speaks publicly about the PL situation. That has always been his way. He believes the monarchy should respond with dignity, not emotion. But behind closed doors, those closest to him say the frustration has been building quietly for years. And now, something appears to have finally changed. According to royal insiders, a recent development pushed William past a point he had been trying to avoid. The details remain closely guarded. No official confirmation has been released, but multiple sources say the future king has made a decision that signals the most serious rupture yet between the brothers. Prince William is no longer trying to repair the relationship. In fact, insiders claim he has taken steps to distance himself from Harry entirely. Not just publicly, but privately as well. For the palace, this kind of separation is extraordinary. Because no matter how complicated royal relationships become, family ties are usually preserved. At least on the surface. The monarchy thrives on unity. Tradition. Stability. But the relationship between William and Harry has become something far more complicated than a typical royal disagreement. It has turned into one of the most emotional and public family conflicts in modern history. And now, many royal commentators are asking the same unsettling question. If Prince William has truly decided to walk away, is there any path left for reconciliation? Or have the brothers who once stood side by side finally reached the point where there is no turning back? For millions of people around the world who grew up watching them, the idea is heartbreaking, because their story didn't start with conflict. It started with brotherhood. With shared memories, with a promise, spoken or unspoken, that they would always have each other. But sometimes, even the strongest bonds can fracture under the weight of time, responsibility, and pain. And tonight, as the whispers from inside royal circles grow louder, one truth is becoming harder to ignore. The relationship between Prince William and Prince Harry may have reached its lowest point yet. And if the latest reports are true, the silence between them might now be louder than anything either brother has ever said. And yet, what makes this moment even more extraordinary is how unimaginable it would have seemed just a few years ago. For most of their lives, Prince William and Prince Harry were seen as the unbreakable duo of the British royal family. They were not just brothers by blood, but partners in a shared destiny that the world had watched unfold since their childhood. People still remember the way they used to joke together during royal engagements. Cameras would catch them exchanging quick smiles, whispering comments to each other during formal ceremonies, sometimes even struggling to contain laughter in the middle of serious events. Those small moments created an image that the public adored. Two princes who understood each other better than anyone else ever could. Two sons who had endured the same tragedy when they lost their mother, Princess Diana. Two young men determined to honor her legacy. For years, that bond seemed unshakable. When they launched their joint charity initiatives, when they appeared together to speak about mental health, when they stood beside each other during royal tours, It often felt as though they represented a new generation of monarchy, more open, more relatable. More human. But insiders now say the story behind the scenes was far more complicated than the public ever realized. Even before the famous royal split, subtle differences between the brothers had already begun shaping their paths in very different ways. William had always been the one preparing for the crown. Every decision he made was measured carefully, knowing that one day he would carry the responsibility of the entire institution. Harry, on the other hand, lived with a different kind of freedom and a different kind of pressure. Being the spare meant he didn't have to follow the exact same path as his older brother, but it also meant constantly searching for his own place within a system built around someone else's future. Some royal experts believe that dynamic quietly shaped the emotional distance that would eventually grow between them. As they entered adulthood, their priorities began drifting apart. William built a family life that fit neatly into the structure of royal tradition. His marriage to Catherine, Princess of Wales, quickly became a pillar of stability for the monarchy. Harry's journey, however, was far less predictable. He had always been the more spontaneous, more outspoken of the two brothers. That personality made him incredibly popular with the public, but it also sometimes put him at odds with the carefully controlled image the palace prefers to maintain. Still, none of that seemed serious enough to break the bond between them. Not yet. The real turning point came when Harry began openly questioning the environment he had grown up in. In interviews and documentaries, he spoke about the pressures of royal life, the relentless media attention, and the emotional toll it had taken on him and Meghan. For Harry, those revelations were part of telling his truth. For the royal family, they were something far more difficult to accept, because the monarchy has always relied on a single, unwritten rule: never complain, never explain. Harry's decision to speak openly shattered that tradition in a way the institution had never faced before. And for William, the future king who must protect the monarchy's stability, that moment reportedly felt like a line had been crossed. People close to the Prince of Wales say he understood his brother's struggles, but he also believed that airing family grievances publicly would only deepen the damage. That difference in perspective slowly transformed disagreement into resentment, and resentment into distance. Then came one of the most explosive chapters in the entire saga, Harry's memoir. When the book was released, it immediately dominated headlines. Around the world, readers devoured its pages looking for insight into royal life, and what they found were deeply personal stories involving members of the royal family. Some passages described tensions between the brothers in vivid detail. Arguments, misunderstandings, moments that had once remained completely private. Royal insiders say those revelations hit William particularly hard, not just because of what was written, but because of the simple fact that it had been written at all. Inside the palace, trust is sacred. Once broken, it can take years, sometimes generations, to repair, and according to several royal commentators, that trust may never fully return between the two brothers. But even after the memoir stirred global debate, there were still quiet hopes that time might soften the situation. After all, families argue, families fall apart, and sometimes families find their way back together again. For a while, many people believed the royal family might follow that same pattern, but the newest report suggests something very different. Sources close to the palace say Prince William has now reached a point where he no longer sees reconciliation as realistic. For years, he reportedly kept a small window open for the possibility that his brother might eventually return to the fold in some form, that window now appears to be closing. 1. Royal commentator recently described the situation in stark terms. William has moved on. Not out of anger, they claim, but out of necessity. As the future king, William's first responsibility is to the stability of the monarchy. Every decision he makes must consider the long-term survival of the institution. And right now, insiders say he believes maintaining distance from Harry is the only way to protect that stability. If that assessment is true, it represents one of the most dramatic shifts in modern royal history, because the idea that the future King of the United Kingdom would effectively separate himself from his own brother is something previous generations of royals tried desperately to avoid, yet the circumstances surrounding William and Harry are unlike anything the monarchy has faced before. Never in the digital age has a royal disagreement unfolded so publicly, with millions of people around the world watching every development. In real time. Every interview. Every statement. Every subtle body language moment during royal appearances. All of it analyzed endlessly. All of it debated. And through it all, the emotional center of the story has remained the same. Two brothers who once seemed inseparable now standing on opposite sides of an ever-widening divide. Some observers believe the situation may simply continue as it is now: quiet distance, limited contact, and carefully managed public appearances when absolutely necessary. Others believe the story is still far from over, because family bonds, no matter how damaged, have a strange way of resurfacing when least expected. There are still future moments that could bring the brothers into the same room again. Major royal events, family milestones. Moments of national significance. When those moments arrive, the world will be watching closely, not just to see what is said, but to see what is not said. Because sometimes the smallest gestures reveal the most. A glance, a handshake, a moment of eye contact, or perhaps nothing at all. For now, however, one reality seems clearer than ever. Relationship between Prince William and Prince Harry has reached a depth of separation that few people once believed possible. And if the latest palace whispers are accurate, the silence between them may only grow louder in the months ahead. What began as a private family disagreement has transformed into one of the most emotionally charged stories the royal family has faced in decades. And while the public may never know every detail behind the palace walls, one question continues to linger over the entire saga. If two brothers who once shared everything can drift this far apart, what hope is left for reconciliation? Or has the bond that once defined them both finally reached the point where even time cannot repair it? Because tonight, as the world continues to debate what happens next, the future of that relationship remains uncertain. And somewhere behind the gates of Kensington Palace and the distant hills of California, two brothers who once walked the same path now appeared to be living in completely different worlds. A reality that, just a few years ago, would have seemed impossible to imagine. And perhaps that is the part of this story that makes it so difficult for people around the world to accept. Because when the public thinks about Prince William and Prince Harry, they don't just think about two royal figures caught in a modern family conflict. They think about two young boys who grew up under the brightest spotlight imaginable, two brothers who faced heartbreak together, and two men who once promised to carry forward the legacy of their mother. Princess Diana often spoke about the importance of love inside a family. She believed that no matter how powerful an institution might be, the human bonds inside it were what truly mattered. For a long time, people believed that belief would hold the brothers together forever. But life rarely unfolds the way people expect. Responsibility changes people. Distance changes people. And sometimes, the pressures of public life create walls that even family struggles to break down. Today, Prince William stands closer than ever to the throne. Every step he takes is measured not only as a son or a brother, but as the future king of the United Kingdom. The decisions he makes now are not just personal, they are institutional. For him, protecting the stability of the monarchy is no longer simply a duty. It is his destiny. Prince Harry, meanwhile, has built a completely different life thousands of miles away. In California, he has embraced a path that focuses on independence, personal freedom, and speaking openly about his experiences. In many ways, the two brothers now represent two very different visions of what life after royalty can look like, and that difference may be the very thing that makes their divide so difficult to bridge. Because when people grow into completely different worlds, even shared memories can start to feel distant. Still, history has a way of surprising us. Royal families, like all families, have experienced painful rifts before. Some lasted for decades. Others healed quietly over time when no one expected it. There have been moments in the past when reconciliation seemed impossible, until suddenly it wasn't. A phone call, a private meeting, a moment of reflection that changes everything. Right now, no one outside the palace walls truly knows whether such a moment will ever come for William and Harry. But what we do know is this: their story is far from ordinary. It is a story shaped by duty, by loss, by global fame, and by the complicated weight of royal tradition. And because of that, every new development continues to capture the attention of millions of people across the world. Some watch with sympathy for William, believing he must protect the institution he will one day lead. Others feel compassion for Harry, seeing a man determined to live life on his own terms. But at the center of it all remains a simple, human truth. This is not just a royal story. It is a family story. Two brothers who once stood side by side, now navigating life on very different paths. Whether those paths will ever cross again in the same way they once did remains one of the biggest unanswered questions surrounding the modern monarchy. Perhaps time will soften the distance between them. Perhaps the responsibilities of the future will keep them apart. Or perhaps one day, when the noise of headlines fades and the cameras turn away, two brothers will simply sit down together and remember the bond that once defined them both. Because beneath the crowns, the titles, and the global attention, they are still just that. Brothers. And sometimes, even the deepest divides can be healed by something as simple and as powerful as forgiveness. Only time will tell whether that moment will ever arrive. But until then, the world continues watching, waiting, and wondering what the next chapter of this royal story will bring. And now we'd love to hear from you. Do you think Prince William and Prince Harry will ever reconcile? Or has their relationship truly reached the point of no return? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective might be completely different from someone else's. And that's what makes these discussions so interesting. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most talked about royal stories in the world, make sure to like the video so more people can discover it. Subscribe to the channel for more royal revelations, celebrity news, and stories that uncover what's really happening behind the headlines. And don't forget to share this video with someone who follows the royal family as closely as you do, because sometimes the most fascinating stories aren't just about history or power. They're about people. And this story may still have many chapters left to be written.